As of today, recreational pot is now legal in Washington, D.C. Yesterday, legalized in Alaska, and Oregon will follow suit in July. But
now a dangerous trend emerging in Colorado where pot is already legal. Now mothers who are expecting are addicted to pot. So how dangerous can this be for moms and their babies? Joining us now is Fox News Medical Aid Team's Dr. Marc Siegel. Doctor, thanks for being here. So,
good morning.
What complications is a woman who is using pot going to experience, and then how does it affect the baby? Because this is like a new generation of crack babies, really. This
is a huge problem, and it's not political, it's medical. And the first problem is if a woman gets pregnant and says, oh, I better get off pot now, which is probably wise, they can go through withdrawal. They can have a problem with insomnia. They can have a problem with abdominal pain. They can have a problem with irritability and cold sweats. They end up in the emergency room. That's, of course, a problem for the unborn child. That's number one. Now, if a pregnant woman doesn't get off marijuana, then there's direct impact on the fetus, Elisabeth. It can affect brain development. 2 studies out last year from Austria and Sweden shows that it affects how nerves conduct in the brain of an unborn child. Yeah. Can have a problem later on with behavior, with judgment in a child after they're born.
You know what it is, Doctor? Now that it's legal in a number of states in the District of Columbia, people think, well, if it's legal, it's got to be safe. No, it doesn't. Not if you're pregnant.
Of course not. You know, and anything you I tell all of my patients that become pregnant, anything you take during pregnancy, any kind of medication whatsoever could be problematic.
Alcohol?
Exactly. Same problem that you have with alcohol. March of Dimes came out and said with marijuana, preterm infancy, babies born early, low birth weight, that's in addition to problems with irritability and behavior. And they're born having to withdraw from marijuana. Imagine that. This is the beginning of life.
You think this is this generation's crack baby?
The baby's having to go through withdrawal. When you say it's not political, you're absolutely right. Both Republicans and Democrats, former heads of the DEA, are signed a brief. They're actually urging the United States Supreme Court to overturn the legalization in the state. So this is not political. But what's sad is, you know, a lot of the times when you're pregnant, you don't know it right away. So you can actually be well into your first term of pregnancy and be using marijuana legally and not know the damage that it's doing to your baby.
So true, Elisabeth. And unfortunately, me as a physician, I'd have to be in a position, if I were in Colorado, to say, and I do this with all young women that come to me, and I say, are you thinking of becoming pregnant? Go on those prenatal vitamins now. Get off the marijuana now, before you get pregnant. But as you said, someone gets pregnant without knowing it, they're not planning it, then they have a problem.
But what's the difference between alcohol? This is the same warning you would give me in the 1920s when alcohol was illegal, correct?
Well, I think alcohol's the worst. I mean, fetal syndrome from alcohol is the worst.
And moms know not to drink when they're pregnant. They could choose to do it anyway.
Well, and we teach that, and we've also taught not to smoke cigarettes when you're pregnant, though many keep doing it, and get off of medication. The biggest problem here is that people don't know that they have to get off marijuana, because it hasn't been tied in with birth defects yet, but it has been tied in with effects on the fetus.
Well, we've seen the effect that it has on the brain. We've seen a number of studies, one coming out of Northwestern on adults, never mind when the brain is developing as a baby in the womb.
And short-term and long-term. Kids that are on marijuana when they're born, they didn't intend to be on it, they end up having problems in school, problems with judgment, problems making decisions, problems with irritability, behavior problems, more ADHD, and later on problems when they grow up.
So if somebody is pregnant, they should get off pot, you know, for themselves, for their own personal health, but especially for the baby.
Right. Well, a little time out on that. I want to tell people out there, if you're on pot and you're pregnant, you better have a doctor guide you through that. Don't just stop it because there's withdrawal.
Good advice.
There's a line building up in your waiting room. I know you got to get going. Thanks so much for joining us, Dr. Siegel.
Yes.